Here are 5 speed training rules guaranteed to make you faster and more explosive. I know that these all work because I've used them all personally and used them to completely transform my athleticism over the last 6 months. Take long rests, most of the time. In my experience, most athletes make one of 2 mistakes. The first is they simply get bored and cut their rests too short. They just want to get through the workout as fast as possible and don't want to waste time sitting around doing nothing. The second is that they intentionally take rests that are too short. This could be because they think they aren't working hard enough and so they want to make the workout more difficult, or because they feel like they're already completely recovered. However, the feeling of being recovered isn't the same as actually being recovered. Just because you're not completely dying and out of breath doesn't mean that you're ready to go again. Your creatine phosphate system is your primary fuel source for short, high-intensity activities. After you complete a repetition or a set, it'll be completely drained, and your body needs time to refill that fuel system. To be specific, it needs at least 3 to 5 minutes, if not a little bit longer. If you try to go again before it's completely refilled, it's like trying to drive a car on fumes. The car might move, and it might even look decent doing it, but it's not going to perform as well as if it had a completely topped-off tank. If you look at your body like the car, and you give yourself incomplete rest, you won't be able to perform to your maximum ability, and so you won't be able to get as many positive adaptations with your training. So not only for sprinting, but also for plyometrics, heavy lifts, or explosive lifts, I would suggest a minimum of 3 minutes rest, and maybe even as high as 8 minutes rest in some situations, to guarantee you're giving yourself the best chance to get the adaptations you want. Go all out, when you are supposed to. Multiple different parts of your body are affected by speed training, including your muscles, tendons, connective tissue, and central nervous system. The first 3 can and should be trained at lower intensities at times, and doing so can lead to really big performance benefits. But our central nervous system, which is the primary driver for speed and power adaptations, not our muscles as some people think, will not be stimulated to change unless we are doing work close to our maximum. So the part of us that is arguably the most vital for speed and athleticism only really changes if we are going all out with some physical capacity, whether that is speed or strength or something similar. On top of that, certain aspects of training work best when they mimic certain aspects of competition as closely as possible. If you never do things like sprint or jump maximally or change directions as fast as you can, your body will never be exposed to those stimuli, and so it won't be prepared for them when it comes to competition. That's like trying to go in to take the bar exam as a lawyer when you've never even cracked open a book about law. It's pretty much common sense. If you haven't exposed yourself to it, you won't be prepared for it. Not only will this reduce your performance potential, but it'll also increase your risk of injury because you'll be performing at intensities that you aren't used to. So when you are doing sprints, plyometrics, and strength training that are supposed to be really high intensity, make sure you actually go all out. Recovery is key. Athletes often love pushing themselves to their limits, which is awesome. One of my favorite things to see is when an athlete on my team wants to put in extra work to make themselves as good as they can be. Most people aren't willing to do that, and it showcases a really high dedication to the sport and to self-improvement. However, you can't go hard in your training every single day. Well, you can, but I would strongly suggest you don't. Your body and your mind will start getting worn down if you do. Even if your muscles stop getting sore, which they probably will, your tendons and connective tissues can't adapt at the same rate as your muscles. So, especially if you don't have a great foundation in place beforehand, your tendons will probably keep breaking down more and more until eventually you get injured. Maybe even more importantly than that, going hard every day will fry your central nervous system. As we already discussed, the central nervous system is probably the most important part of your body for any fast or explosive movement. On top of that, it is extremely important for developing proper movement patterns and for moving in a healthy and effective way. Essentially, failing to recover properly will stop you from realizing or seeing the gains that you would have made from your training so far. And so taking a day off or easy the day after a really hard day of training is probably advisable for most athletes most of the time. Keep the volume low. When it comes to true speed training, doing high volumes will not help you. In fact, it will probably hurt you. You can think of this a lot like the other kind of volume, sound volume. If your music is too quiet, you obviously won't be able to hear it and enjoy it like you want to. If you turn it up a little bit, it'll get to that optimal point where it's enjoyable, but it's not hurting your ears and you're just having a good time. But of course, if you keep turning it up, it'll eventually get to a point where it's too loud and it starts hurting your head and your ears and even causing damage. It is the exact same thing with sprinting. Do too little and nothing good will happen. Do too much and you'll stop seeing the positive benefits and may even create a negative outcome. Get the volume just right, and you'll get optimal adaptations. Your body can really only sustain high intensities for short periods of time. So when it comes to speed training, it's absolutely a case of quality over quantity. You might not even feel like you're getting tired while you do true speed training, but this is another case of your central nervous system getting fatigued as opposed to your body and your muscles. So if you're in a workout and you don't feel that tired, but you kind of start falling apart, losing the ability to push and be as aggressive as you were at the start of the workout, the best thing you can do in that situation is cut it off there. Otherwise, you'll probably be causing unnecessary soreness or increasing how long it takes your brain and body to recover before the next workout, and you will gain no extra benefits from doing so. Focus on form. Technique is an incredibly important aspect of speed that is somehow both overemphasized and underutilized as a method for increasing performance. Sometimes little changes in form can lead to massive performance improvements because they remove the bottleneck that is keeping someone away from their maximal speed. However, as an athlete, paying too much attention to form can be really detrimental. If someone's always thinking about their form, it can lead to overthinking, and the more you think, usually the slower your body moves. A balance has to be found between emphasizing form and technique at times, while also allowing freedom for explosive, aggressive, and natural movements. Unfortunately, none of this matters too much if you're making any of the 5 mistakes that are making you slow, which I talk about in this video here. Check it out.